Russell Wilson has been traded to the Denver Broncos. Tom Pelissero reports that there is a deal in principle to send 9-time Pro Bowl quarterback Russell Wilson to the Denver Broncos. In exchange for...
All right, back now with you on Total Access with breaking news out of Green Bay. We go straight to Tom Pelissero on the details of what's going on with Davante Adams, who looks like the Raiders are acquiring him from the Packers. All right.
Hello and welcome to the Wild Wild West podcast. My name is RichiRichEh from the MHRT Network. This is already turning out to be a great show because we already have one of the Smugs present with us. In addition to Alex, this is fantastic. Over to Captain Jack of Captain Jack Rackham. You can find him on all your social medias, including everywhere you find quality podcasts as well. Captain, how are you doing this evening?
Hello! I just like saying hello as well. Like I said, like the Seinfeld episode, just hello. Hey, it's a good day. It's Super Bowl Wednesday, and I'm glad that Mac Daddy Smug was off the injured list for the ailments that I gave to you guys in the email. I think you might want to share those with everybody. And Smug, see, and Smug's in
whole Smug family reunion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Swiss Smug nightmare.
The Smurfs ain't got nothing on the Smugs, baby. That's for sure.
Well, that's awesome. We got the whole extended family. We're expanding the tent now.
It's growing. Yeah.
Auntie Smug reporting for duty.
I'm woken the colony of Smug. The Smug colony's responding.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
And of course we have Mr. Smug himself. Mr. Alex Gibbons of Airhead. Hello.
Hello.
Just for the record, I have watched far too much British TV.
I got it from Seinfeld, but
on the same page. I got that from like way back, like old school British TV. That's how a lot of those kind of like the old 70-year-old nannies and stuff used to, answer things and the whole bit. So, yeah, that's the way it works. And of course, we have Coach Defense of the Lockdown Defense podcast. Again, you can find all of his content, including his segment.
Coach,
there
where's
with,
your hello?
That's
the payment for today. Coach he's not paid to be on the show yet. He hasn't said hello.
Hello, gentlemen. How y'all doing today?
Oh, no. You have to make it drawn out, man. It's got to be at least A 5-second no. Hello.
Listen. My voice is way too deep for that. Okay, we're not gonna besmirch my my melodious voice by doing that today.
We can get. We got the best one out of him. We'll take that.
Gentlemen, how y'all doing? I appreciate you holding down the fort while I was gone. Shout out to Kyle and the Bo Bros for holding it down for the Chargers Nation. The Bo family, appreciate you. Back on the mend. As I said in the email, I'm questionable, but I'm expected to play. Good to go. Whatever that Thanos virus that jumped on my back last hit Monday is on its way out, and we're doing good here.
It's good to hear.
Fantastic.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, hate the team, don't hate the player.
There you go. I like that, Cap.
Yeah. Well, okay. In our house.
In this house, yes.
In this house. This house. There you go.
Like it. I like it. Likewise. Kind of hard to hate. With such fine gentlemen that I work with, it's kind of hard to hate on the entire division. When it comes down to that. So
So we've had some changes, some recent changes within our division. We've had some coaches leave, some coaches enter in. Obviously, the news last week was Sean Payton coming to the Denver Broncos. That was made official this week, where contract signing, press conference, the whole bit. I think we would be remiss on sports. Oh, it's fantastic. That was. I honestly can't say enough. That was the most refreshing presser I've seen in a very long time from the Broncos side. It was spectacular. He basically put Russell Wilson on notice. He told everyone it was great. It was great.
It's safe to say that you loved it.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic. The dude's like, he was literally is like, Rich, I'm gonna read your football script, and I said thank you. Because he came out and said that basically football requires a certain degree of toughness and it's not for everyone. And I was just like this on the other side of the screen. And
I like the not the official press, but that little snippet he had where he's like, they're like, you think you're going to allow personal coaches in the building? He's like, I wasn't aware of that, but no.
Yeah,
he's already like right into the camera, just looked at it. Absolutely not.
I heard it was an eye roll when they started asking the question.
Oh yeah.
Was it a discernible eye roll, like one of those things that was like, wait, let me like.
Yeah.
It was
noticeable.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think they even got the question fully out. He knew it was coming. Like he knew it was going to happen. Yeah. So he's like, "Oh, here we go with this."
Oh, it was beautiful.
I like the eye rolls that you could see a lot of white iris. That makes the point, baby.
And you gotta get that way up into the upper eyelid, eye roll. You gotta get that one going. Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's had some reasonable exposure to the proper eye roll because he's got it down to a fine science. Like it was visible on the presser, and he was hiding nothing. It was fantastic. And
Sean Payton's a very transparent person, so you're gonna get a lot of that.
Yeah, and of course, visor sales are now up about 1,000% in Denver.
Right.
I mean, and then the rest of the Denver natives are trying to figure out why Sean Payton's just buying them all. But
gotta have one for every day. I imagine exactly. A walk-in closet with just
like Harbaugh has khakis for every day. You gotta have that.
365 Broncos visors, all the same.
There you go.
But, just
put a number on the side of it so you know what day it is.
Yeah. So I think that was a big one, and that was obviously made official. You saw a bunch of the presser stuff, basically saying, changes are coming. You've been put on notice, which I thought was really good. Coach, you've had a few coaching changes for the Chargers in the last little bit as well. I wanted to get your take on some of those changes as well.
Well, the most glaring one, I kind of talked about it last week, but the most glaring one is our offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore. It's I was telling Alex this on Twitter that we was discussing back and forth when it happened. that it's a wait and see for me in a sense. You know, I'm kind of trying to figure out exactly what the dynamic was between Kellen Moore and McCarthy. But what I did like and didn't notice, and I kind of didn't get to talk to Alex about this prior, but is that it wasn't you know, there's a difference between a firing and a parting ways. You know, so I think that he kind of went to the organization and saying that I'm not able to grow enough here to the point where I want to get to or where I want to get to. So it's probably best that I go somewhere else and kind of spread my wings and let me be my own man, in a sense, to be my own play caller and have the oversight that I have here in Dallas. And so I think that would lead to the idea that of him, you know, basically coming to Jerry and saying, I want to have a mutual parting versus you saying, I'm tired of you, it's time for you to go, kind of deal.
Plus McCarthy's calling plays now. So it makes you think, like, how much was he trying to have his footprint on the offensive game plan for Moore, you know, to where he's like, I'm going to go do my own thing, have full authority, and not have you kind of looming over me.
Oh yeah, that's exactly my point. I think that's the whole issue, is the fact that he wants to be able to say that officially that I'm the guy and I'm the reason why the offense is ranked as high as it's going to be ranked. You know, because Dallas numbers were really good with Dak Prescott as your quarterback. And all the, you know, whatever you want to call it, dysfunction or drama there is Dallas Cowboys. There is the Dallas Cowboys.
That's Jerry Jones.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that getting outside of that, getting an upgraded quarterback clearly, and allowing for him to be able to be in a situation where Brandon Staley is a defensive-minded head coach. So he's basically the assistant head coach in a sense, where he was going to be the offensive guy. So it's going to come through him, and everything's going to come, you know, in and out through him, and everything's going to be on his, I guess, under his purview as far as him being able to, you know, say how the offense is going to be ran. So I'm interested to see exactly how he feels about personnel. It'll kind of allude to the idea of who he want to draft, who they want to pick up in free agency, who they want to keep and get rid of. So I'm interested to see how that shakes out. But again, I think that you know, it's a wait and see. I do like the fact that they had high numbers, and as far as their production is concerned, and they were balanced. And that's the thing I've been preaching for the last 2 years about the Chargers being balanced. They were balanced with running pass. So I think that if he brings that philosophy to the Chargers, I think it could be a good thing. But again, you know, was it Dallas or was it Kellen? You know, that's the question. You know, about, you know, how they underachieve in a sense. Yeah, they keep posting it.
We're double tapping that comment.
So yeah, I want to see exactly, you know, what he can bring in as far as you know, some innovation to the offense. I think it's going to be a two-part thing: the weapons we get going forward, the ones we keep, the ones we bring in, and the identity that he wants to establish on that side of the ball. You know, there's like, he want to be a balanced first, pass first, run first. What does he want to be? And on top of that, you know, adding some wrinkles to the yard over there, Rich.
Yeah, my chair just the lock on my chair just like
almost
unlocked.
Collapsed.
Oh, okay.
And I almost fell straight backwards. It was great. That would have made for some great video right there. Let me tell you.
That it would. I'm glad it didn't happen though, because that might have put a cap in the show for sure. Yeah. But overall, I think this it's an interesting hire. I think it's a good hire. And I think they were kind of lukewarm on all the other candidates that they had, and then when Kellen became available, they didn't wait, and they pounced on it immediately. So I kind of feel like it was one of those things they were kind of working in the background to say, hey, if you get released, we'll take you immediately. Like, we're not going to wait. So I think that's why he went to Jerry and said, I want out. I want to go to California, be Justin Herbert's mentor, and take it to the next level. Now, one thing I do like is the fact that although he wasn't a great quarterback, he is a quarterback. So I think that's an extra added bonus to this whole ordeal. The fact that he knows the position.
And I mean, a complex enough offensive mind to be an OC at like 30. You know?
Yeah,
like,
true.
Literally, like the year after he retired.
Right, you know? Right. You were right in the coaching and was good at it. So yeah, I definitely think it's an interesting hire. But again, I'm not going to, you know, get too high, too low yet. I really want to see what they do personnel wise. It kind of give me the idea of what they're going to do offensively next season. You know, because, you know, there's a lot of things swirling around about who we want to draft. We think Alex and you and I talked about this, about some people wanting a running back, some people want a tight end. You know, me myself, I want a receiver or two. You know, so we'll see. Yeah. But I mean, I'm curious about what the identity is going to be going forward, and I think Brandon Staley will let Kellen be that guy going forward and let him run that side of the building, and I think hopefully it will be an improvement on our offense.
Do you know who Kellen Moore reminds me a little bit of? Is Gary Kubiak. they were both mediocre quarterbacks at the pro level. Like they weren't spectacular, but they were very cerebral. They were very smart. And because they were not as, say, athletically gifted as, say, like a John Elway or, a Tony Romo or one of these other guys that actually could elevate the game, they actually had to work harder than they did. And as a result, they kind of learned the game in a more detailed level and then from a different perspective. And I think that both of those guys have maybe not a similar trajectory, but certainly it's looking a little bit like that if you're going to look, a little bit more objectively at their trajectories into the NFL coaching world.
Yeah, you can take Doug Peterson into that conversation as well. Doug Peterson, the same. He wasn't a great quarterback either, but
I feel like a lot of OCs,
any journeyman quarterback, a lot of journeyman quarterbacks were end up being good OCs. So Brian Leftwich is another name because he was a good to decent quarterback. He's not a Hall of Famer in my opinion, but he was a decent quarterback and he understood the position. So he was a really good play caller for Tampa while he was there. So I think that all those things factor in. So I think that it's good. And I like the idea that they went after Kellen because they really wanted to try to maximize Justin Herbert's potential. And they want to make it so that he's comfortable with the idea of being a franchise quarterback for long term. So that's probably the smartest move they could have made outside of getting Frank Reich.
I found it interesting. Granted, this is Jerry Jones, and you don't know what he's going to say when he goes into his weekly Monday radio show. But he talked about McCarthy calling plays and hiring Schottenheimer, and he's like, well, we just want to make sure that we maximize Dak's potential. And I was like, well, what the hell does that mean for Kellen Moore then? Like, you don't think he did? Or I think with Dallas, they always try to have some scapegoat that they don't they're not abrasive about addressing, but very subtly try to say it was someone else who's not there. I just found that interesting.
I think that happens with all breakups when it comes in one with Dallas. When they break up, they don't have a whole lot of good things to say about their former partner.
Yeah. So, then you go look at Brian Schottenheimer, how the teams he was the OC for, where their pass offense was ranked, and it was bottom third.
Right.
with everything. Right. I think the last one he was with was Jacksonville.
Schottenheimer is quite literally the equivalent of the Broncos' old OC Pat Shurmur. They remind me the exact same as one another. They keep on getting these opportunities and they suck.
It's just the middle of the pack team. It's let's just get a guy with a name and experience.
Exactly.
Right.
I do want to.
And why are we not happy? Oh, I'm sorry. We're all happy about that. We're happy about that. Suck.
Yeah. Well, and that's the sad part when you bring in a guy like Schottenheimer, because he's never truly excelled in the passing game, and frankly the league is moving in that direction, and so it just doesn't make sense. However, Dallas has never done particularly well when they have been a pass first team.
That's a fact.
So I think if we're gonna lay the cards on the
that too.
there's that as well, right? But so Andrew did join late and he did apologize. So I did want to bring up this question. I somewhat hinted at it, not subtly, about the fact that I felt that Sean Payton was his presser was quite literally one of my favorites I've seen in a very long time. And do I think Payton can keep Russell Wilson in line? The short answer is yes. And the reason for that is Sean Payton has proven himself to be a top-tier legitimate head coach. And no one in their right mind will look at Sean Payton as being the reason why Russell Wilson is not able to get over kind of his issues, because they've seen Sean Payton turn a hobbled short quarterback who's less mobile than Russell Wilson, even today, into a household name and a Pro Bowl quarterback. So if Russell Wilson cannot step up his game, and a Hall of Famer, and so Russell Wilson will likely be shown the door pretty quickly if he doesn't step up his game and start playing properly. So do I think he'll keep Russell Wilson in line? Yeah. And then the question is, can Russell Wilson actually put the effort in and play like he did the last two games, as opposed to the first 16 or 15, sorry. So I think that'll be the big question. And I truly do believe that the Broncos ownership if you look at what they've done, they're here to win. You don't trade away these first-round picks to try to get a quarterback to fix your team. You don't trade away more picks to try to get a top-tier and top-flight head coach. These owners mean business, and they're willing to eat dead cap and move on from people, just like they did with Hackett, to say, no, we need better. So I would fully expect them to just kind of kick Russell Wilson at the door if he doesn't actually, fulfill probably a 30 to 40% improvement upon last year at minimum.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I think that'd be a pretty tough cap situation, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see a situation where you can't for at least 2-3 years to do anything with it.
I think they got Payton because they had to. It was either that this is going to work or not. Both of them aren't going to work.
No, it's at the end of this year for Russell Wilson. At the end of this year, there's a small dip in his contract if you cut him early enough, and then it's the next year after that where a boatload of additional money kind of comes into play. So this is really his make or break year. Where it's not like the Broncos ownership aren't going to be eating a ton of money, like something like $40 million or something like that. But
you might. Well, I think that's a 2025 is when it becomes a quote unquote. Maybe 2026 because he's the dead cap at 85 million in 2024, 49 million at 2025, and 31 million at 2026, 12 million in 2027. That's not
dead cap.
That is.
That's his salary cap.
No, that's dead cap. He has $107 million guaranteed in his contract, and it's starting this year. The contract just started this year.
Yes, but you can spread that over the duration of the contract, over the entirety of the contract, to spread out the guaranteed money. So they'll be paying for it for a number of years, but there is a short window, like next year or something like that. If they cut him, I think it's something along the lines of like 70 million or something.
That's a lot.
As a
7 million.
So Walmart money, baby.
But that's the thing. It doesn't matter about how much money Walmart has. It's a salary cap. So the salary cap is $225 million. You got $35 million tied up with Russell Wilson. That's a lot of money you can't spend on other players. Is my point.
Sure, but that's why I think what they're looking at now is they've cut a lot of draft picks to get Payton, so they have less money that can go into draft picks, so they can carry that cap over. I think there's going to be more cap to kind of carry over this year. I also think that we're going to be probably a little bit more aggressive in free agency. One free agent that I really want us to go after is Daron Payne. I realize it's going to be costly, but he is one heck of a player on the interior. And
can you afford that? Because him and DJ Jones in the middle, that's a problem. That's a problem.
That's my point. That's my point.
I don't know. It's all about what DeBron wants, because I mean, you could go to a slightly better team and have a better situation and line up next to DJ. But how much money you want? This is his first real big time contract. Like he's coming out of his rookie. Yeah, he's coming out of his rookie deal, so he's going to want the bag.
Right, but here's the thing: is we have Draymond Jones, who's looking for the same type of bag, and we have potential of Daron Payne, who's on the interior.
Oh, I would take Daron Payne if I had the choice.
That's my point, right? Yeah. And so that's my point. So you have DJ Jones, Daron Payne, and then you can cycle out kind of, a couple other guys that you might draft and some other guys on the other side there. In my opinion, I think Daron Payne would suit our team better because he's both run stuffing just like DJ Jones and a pass rush as a combination type dude. DJ Jones has the same type of skill set. So again, I don't want to derail this to kind of go over to the Broncos, like maybe kind of sort of free agents, but I would see Daron Payne as a guy that would be a huge benefit. But before we go into
you okay, Cap?
What you all came here for, well, I mean,
I think you woke him up.
Yeah, I woke him up.
I'm sorry, I was sleeping because I had too much friggin' orange and blue bullshit talk, and I startled,
Well, I'm glad you woke up from your slumber. Early retirement is not yet in your future. However,
Oh
I
God,
have a
I
question for you
can't
about.
wait till one of these days.
We
I
got a
don't want to
question
take
for
a
the
dirt
panel.
nap, but I would like to retire before I'm fully retired. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
One day.
So I have a question for you. With regards to exactly this question, as well as the news that Derek Carr has had a visit, as rumors about the Saints potentially being a landing spot. What are your thoughts on that? And who do you think the Raiders are going to be now actively seeking for the quarterback position?
Well, actually, I'm available, and I won't cost. Like. I mean, I'd go. Give me $1 million a season, and this way we can use the money for everybody else. I just want $1 million a season, and I will, and I'll get hurt the very first series or the very first game, and be out of it. And this way they can concentrate on other things. I'm economical. Okay, I'm economical.
I'm like, we're not trying to play on funerals over here.
My services.
I think they got to draft someone.
I do too.
I don't think Aaron Rodgers is the move.
Well, and here this is the conundrum, and this is because of the Raiders are always interesting to speculate, even in the days of Al Davis, as to what are the Raiders going to do, because they're an enigma wrapped in a shroud, which is whenever Winston Churchill used to say about Eastern Europe. That expression, another history lesson, folks. Like, what the hell is he talking about? But anyway,
say that quite often.
Yeah, well, quite often. But here's the thing about who's going to play quarterback, and I can personally say this: I don't freaking care.
Oh.
And the reason why I say that is this: there are so many other things that the Raiders need to do. They got to build the defense. They got to get one or two more guys on the offensive line. So whoever is at quarterback, which is why at $1 million per, I could be back there at quarterback, and I'll do those little. And I'm not quite.
Hand it off.
I'd be like 58-year-old jump pass quarterback, because I'd have to jump over the line, and I'll do that. It'd be like the old.
Well, you only got one per game. You ain't got the best knees in the world.
Yeah. You can just take the Trent Dilfer approach. They'll get you in and sign Jacobs to whatever he wants and just give him 400 touches.
There you go. Ride him till the wheels fall off.
There you go. Ride him, cowboy. But anyway, like I said, it doesn't matter who the Raiders quarterback is. What matters is are the Raiders going to get compensation for Carr? That's the big question. And the people are really getting into the fact is that that Carr is in Nolens for a visit, but they have to remember that the only reason why Carr is in New Orleans for a visit is because New Orleans has already agreed to what the compensation will be. If you don't know what the compensation is going to be, he ain't going anywhere. So maybe this will inspire other people. Well, I know it's allegedly it's a 3rd round pick. What I'm saying
I saw that he wants to be released too, or he's asking.
Yeah, but does he want to be released, or does he want to take the money? Because do you want a contract that's worth 32, 40, and 42? Those are about the numbers. I might be off a little bit. Or do you want to be released and have people say, Derek,
there's 20.
You're a better than average quarterback, so let's call you number 16. In a 32-team league, right? You had a year in 2016 where you were an MVP candidate, but you really haven't been all that in the biscuit since then. So we're going to give you a median contract of, let's say, $17 million, and that's it. And then you say, well, if I would have gotten traded, you would have had to trade for the contract, and I got my money. And that's what the deal is. So does he want to be traded and get the money? Or if he gets cut, then he's just costing himself money. And that is the conundrum.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Because I truly believe that if Carr were to be on the open market and have open bidding on him for his services.
Someone like the Jets or someone will pay.
I really think that a lot of Raiders fans are undervaluing Derek Carr.
Desperation of some team.
Yeah, like you're gonna have the
Nick
Jets.
Foles got.
You're gonna have the Jets. You're gonna have potentially even the Giants with Danny Dimes there, who is less like they would take Carr over
Panthers, Commanders.
The Panthers. You have the Commanders. You have so many. Like you have the Colts. You have all of these
Texans.
teams. You have all these teams that are going to be.
And the point is that you can have all these people that are vying for him, but I can guarantee you, Carr is not going to New York because first off, it's too effing cold for him. It's not indoors, right? And the minute that he screws up, the New York press, hell, the New York press would have him for breakfast, his first press conference in the preseason. Okay? Oh, you hurt my feelings. I'm going back to the locker room now. You guys are mean. And that's the way it is, man. He wouldn't last a minute in New York. I can see somebody in the NFC South, which is why the Saints reached out. But if your other teams in the NFC South say, oh, the Saints reached out, well, we might want to have to step our game. I've heard Tampa already. And Carolina hasn't reared its ugly head. And so I think that Carolina would probably be the best fit for him.
Hell, even Atlanta could be.
Other than the Saints.
Yeah.
The whole NFC South, really.
Yeah, really. Everybody needs a quarterback in that division.
I don't see him going to Atlanta. But I just say we'll see what happens. And again, where he goes, I don't care. I'd like to get compensation, but if it doesn't happen, that's fine. All I want to see is whoever is behind center, either in a shotgun or behind center this year, the Raiders need to improve a bunch of different positions because Derek Carr and the McDaniels regime single-handedly took a playoff team and made them one of the worst teams in the league. Period. And that's facts. So we'll see what happens.
Well, and I saw something, and I didn't check if it was verified or not, but it was a tweet, and it was kind of interesting when you watch it with the video. It was talking about the Seahawks-Raiders game and how, I guess, allegedly Derek Carr was making a bunch of audibles and changing plays to win the game, the game-winning drive. And then it says, watch McDaniels. And as they score the walk-off touchdown, he slams his headset down and is cussing at his coaches and is all pissed off, and everyone else is happy. And you kind of, I mean, that could have been edited together, but it kind of, that's what kind of made me think, like, well, why would they want to get someone like Aaron Rodgers who's even more abrasive than Derek Carr would be? It'd be like, no, I mean, I'll do this compared to, maybe trading up. If you move Carr for a third-round pick,
I tell you, I can almost guarantee you that the Raiders are not going to trade up. I've been hearing that the Raiders are going to go after the kid from Stanford because he is pardon me. He's big, he's strong, and he's cerebral. Yeah. And that's what I can almost guarantee you that's who the Raiders are going to go after, the kid from Stanford.
In the first round?
Good intangibles, good body size, can run, can throw. And if you go to Stanford, you can't be a dummy. Okay? So you'll be able to pick up the offense, and that's going to be the important thing there. They're not going to trade up for any of the clowns, and I'll say it, the clowns that people are picking in the top 5 that for quarterback needy teams. They're not going to do that. Jack Kenna, I don't care if you disagree, but thank you for being here, sir. I think that I got it from a source who has a source inside the building. They're going to go after the kid from Stanford. Now, they might not get him if somebody else gets him before them. But they might like his intangibles as well, right?
What about the dude? Yeah. What about Richardson from Florida? I kind of see them. I don't know. It's all going to boil down to whatever McDaniels wants. I think that's pretty evident at this point. He's probably doing that since week 1.
Richardson is a clone of Cam Newton.
Yeah,
and he basically was force-fed Cam Newton. Because that was his only alternative. Because the guy that was supposed to start for him that season was Stidham, and Stidham got hurt. I don't see it. Maybe Hooker in the 3rd round.
That's what Matt said.
I mean, Chris Lentz, we're talking about quarterbacks for drafting. Okay, and Hooker is a viable thing. Rodgers, if you hear about if Rodgers is saying, and we'll see if it's true or not. If Rodgers is telling Green Bay, you either trade me to the Raiders, or I retire. If they hold him to the gun on that one, we'll see. But again, yeah, Rodgers would be another pain in the ass quarterback. The last time the Raiders had a real pain in the ass quarterback, they went to the Super Bowl. Granted, they lost, but they at least went there, and he was the MVP. So we'll see about that. Rodgers would be a decent fit. But if I'm the Raiders, I'm getting your transitionary quarterback. I'm going to draft one that's going to learn the system. If you get a transitionary quarterback, I keep telling people it's re-sign Stidham, go after Jacoby Brissett, who is not as bad as people think he is, and he's not going to cost the bank on you.
Yeah,
don't worry about Rodgers.
Well, he's a New England guy too, so
and he's familiar system. And draft. A kid from the kid from Stanford, or maybe even you might get Hooker, but that's what you do. Transition. Draft
Hooker in Vegas.
I think that's fitting. They need that. Bring Hooker home to Vegas, baby.
Hooker in Vegas.
Hookers, right? And I tell you what,
in Vegas.
That will be
we have a Hooker in Vegas.
Jersey. That will be the number one selling jersey.
You will be on the T-shirt.
I promise you.
I think the whole town would have him by the next day.
And it has to be number one. He has to be number one. Number one Hooker. The number one Hooker.
That's going to be hanging up in every club.
The number one Hooker in Vegas.
There's a gal on my show. There's a gal on my show, Anna, who lives in Vegas. Great lady, a big fan, and always is on the show. She said she wants Hooker because she would buy a Hooker jersey in a minute.
We buying hookers in Vegas?
They come on down to Vegas.
Gotta have a hooker in Vegas.
I love it.
The problem is that totally goes against the whole what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, because you're literally wearing
If they do that,
they're literally telling you people you have hookers in Vegas.
If they do that, they need to re-sign Stoner and make sure that he makes the roster.
Hookers and stoners.
Hookers and stoners. And then boom.
Hookers and stoners.
Man. No, wouldn't that be hilarious if they bring back Stoner and they have a Hooker, and then in the team practice they end up with the two jerseys side by side, so it says Stoner Hooker.
Yeah.
All you need is somebody named that, and you're good to go.
I think we need to cut this up. We'll send it to Davis and say decision made for you.
We're done.
Marketing sells itself.
No need to stress yourself out. We got it.
And you also forgot we already got a Diablo in Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Divine Diablo. A divine Diablo.
But Diablo Hooker doesn't have the same. It doesn't have the same.
It's there. It fits.
It works. It works.
Sort of. It just doesn't have
coupled
the same.
with everything else. Perfect.
Right.
But
so
anyway,
might need some divine intervention after you have a Stoner Hooker.
Yeah.
You need a divine intervention after
dealing with Stoner hookers.
And him and I would probably go against the grain and buy a Hooker jersey.
Hey,
and I'm pretty much, until this year.
Just pick a week of the show. We all wear Hooker jerseys.
Up until they had the jerseys at half price, the only jersey that I bought this year for a current player was Max Crosby, because I love Max Crosby.
That's easy.
It was a great looking jersey. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go against the grain. I'm going to buy a Max Crosby. Plus, it was the Urban Camouflage black dark jersey.
Nice.
Friggin' pissed, man.
Hey, bring that on the show next week. We need to see that. I want to see it.
Yeah.
I can get it now.
Okay.
Go get it. Yeah.
Go get it.
I'm going to turn off my camera. I'll be right back. Let me see. As soon as I figure out how to turn off my camera.
Captain, when you're gone, I'm going to throw in the 3-point stance to kick off the
Super Bowl, right?
The Super Bowl. where Alex, your team, and for all the rest of the Smugs for joining us, thank you.
Smugs.
We are going to.
And Hefe, can't forget about Hefe. My rider died.
Oh, and Hefe, thank you. We're going to go ahead and kick off our 3-point stance today with the Philly sports guy and his take on what his Philadelphia Eagles need to do your Kansas City Birds.
What's up, everybody? Philly Sports Guy here, and you could find me anywhere on social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, LinkedIn, all those places. And I'm going to give you the 3 things that the Eagles need to do to be able to beat the Chiefs. First and foremost, they have to win the battle against their offensive line. We have to put pressure on Patrick Mahomes. Let's get him moving in the pocket. Once he starts moving around, he's not as accurate as he is when he gets time in the pocket. So we want his feet moving. He's a great quarterback. He's going to be able to get his, but you got to get him pressured and get him moving and test that ankle. Let's see how good that ankle feels even after 2-3 weeks. Thing number 2 is that we have to win our battle on our offensive line. Our offensive line is the best in the NFL, and we have been able to do the things we need to do up to this point. This is the Super Bowl, and they're going to be coming. They're going to be blitzing a lot. They're going to try to get Jalen Hurts moving, and they want to be able to see how his shoulder feels. So we need to do everything we can to win that battle on the offensive line. And then I feel that the biggest thing that we're going to need to do is that we have to take advantage of every mistake that they make. Their secondary is not the best in the world, so our receivers should be able to take advantage of doing double moves and things of that nature to be able to get themselves open and have Jalen Hurts get the ball to them. I look for a big day from Jalen Hurts. I also look for a really big day from Hassan Reddick. So those are the 2 guys that I think have the biggest opportunity to get the MVP. Of course, if Jalen Hurts rushes for 2 touchdowns and throws for another 2 touchdowns, I think that he's going to wind up with the MVP. I have this score 38-28 Eagles. Go Birds! Yeah!
He did go full get up though.
He did. He sold out, boy.
I was in there. I almost couldn't tell where the guy was versus the background. He was in there.
Hey, I tell you what, and like I said, Philly sports guy, a fantastic gentleman. When I know Jamie personally, when Jamie does anything, he does 150%. So
all in.
I mean, love you, Jamie. I got a chance to see like a Go Birds. That's all I heard because I had to go get my other stuff. So great, and I'm glad you got him on there, Richie. Awesome get.
Yeah. Nice. Where's his jersey before?
Yeah, no, he's yeah. Let's see the Crosby jersey.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I like that.
That's nice.
Yeah, the urban camouflage.
Yeah, that's clean. That's clean. I like that.
Right, and that's why I bought it because I love the colors, urban camouflage, and I said I got to get it, but because it is, they were on sale for half price.
That guy just got 2 head tattoos. You see that?
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I saw a thing. He flew some guy in. He's got like scorpions on the side of his head.
Oh, Jesus. What are you, Darth Maul?
He's
Is that big wishes, huh?
That one was probably hella on sale.
Yeah, I'm sure that was like 8% off.
Well, it's gonna be relevant next year.
Right, exactly.
and then the $300 Elite.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, so I think nice. You know what? If you're gonna get them on sale, I'm definitely
go big or go home.
But the jersey of the week. The jersey of the week for all you people out here,
Why do you have that?
Right.
I think I've told this as well. There's only 2 jerseys that I have. They're not Raider jerseys. And this is a Javon Curse jersey because he was a Gator. And it was on the discount rack.
Okay.
So I think it was like probably like $35 or whatever.
Oh, well, yeah.
So $35 for a Javon Curse jersey. I think I've worn it like once. And the other one, out of respect, I got a Megatron Hawaiian blue Lions jersey because I love the colors for it, and I love Megatron. He should have been a Raider. So those are the only 2 football jerseys, that I have, non-Raiders, pro. I got my Gator jerseys, but out of respect, I love Curse when he was a Gator. Discount rack, Eagles jersey, sure. And then Megatron, because he's Megatron. Lots of respect for that. But again, if you're going to drop some money, drop it for good causes, right?
True.
Yeah. Also, to answer your question, Jack, Caleb Williams is a baller, and you should. I mean, I would tank for him if I was in that situation with the people in this draft. I mean, he's a beast. And Lincoln Riley obviously knows how to produce, QB, NFL QBs. I mean, look at Jalen Hurts.
Hello.
Look at Kyler Murray. Pretty much
that one's questionable, but okay.
Yeah, but Caleb Williams is the truth in my opinion.
I agree.
So I got a question for you, Alex. Obviously, I did find that Philly sports guy, obviously, despite the fact he is a clear fan for one side of the game, I did think he brought some interest up in the 3-point stance. I mean, Eagles are a legit team. They have killed it this season. And I think that the Chiefs are going to be in for a true test. Obviously, it's number one. Is it number one offense versus number one defense? I think that's what we're looking at here.
Yeah, I mean, number one seeds,
in this
number one teams in both conferences.
Number one seeds, number one
offense versus number one defense.
Yeah.
Andy Reid versus both his teams. Nick Sirianni revenge game. Kelsey Bowl. It's got a lot of things. But I guess the quote Always Sunny, the game of games, right?
Yeah. And I guess my biggest question is, how do you think your offensive line will hold up against the pass rush of the Eagles, which has absolutely just dominated?
Well, and I assumed before going into it, I kind of assumed me and him would be in the same number one key. I always write out what my keys are before every show. And the first thing I wrote down was the trenches, mainly both teams' pass rushes against both teams' O-lines, because really, Eagles were 3rd highest scoring offense behind KC, KC was 1. So obviously 2 high-powered offenses, one defense ranked a lot higher. Granted, haven't really played, the same tier of opponents as like what KC has on offense, but very stacked defense. More importantly, pass rush is just absolutely absurd. I had 70 sacks in the regular season, which was the 3rd most all time behind the 84 and 85 Bears. And I wasn't even alive then, but I know how good that defense was. So, it's something pretty historic when they're putting up numbers with that type of defense, almost 50 years past that, or 40 years after that. And that was my biggest thing is their pass rush versus the Chiefs O-line. We kind of saw how that played out with the Tampa Bay Super Bowl, right? When you have kind of a banged up Mahomes versus a pretty good, and I think at that time Tampa Bay had the best pass rush in the league. So versus the best pass rush, it didn't pan out too well for them. Granted, after that year, Chiefs totally revamped their O-line, which I think will make a difference when you kind of compare how that game went versus how this one is. But at the same time, he mentioned Hassan Reddick. the NFC Championship game, had 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. Had 16 sacks on the year. So he's going to be, and he kind of goes mostly off the right tackle, which is the weakest point on the Chiefs offensive line with Andrew Wiley. Out of the money spent from, money and smart drafting, I guess, from right guard to left tackle. Right tackle is, they've always just kind of been like, we'll just throw someone out there and pray for the best because at least Pat can see that side. That's going to be, to me, the biggest matchup because Hassan Reddick, for the bus label he had in Arizona, is definitely, he's definitely him now. He's been playing out of his mind the last 2 years. He's and Wiley out of for the Chiefs offensive line success. I mean, they've given up the 3rd fewest sacks this year, with the 5th most passing attempts. I think they gave up like 26 sacks on the year, and Wiley gave up 9 of those. So you clearly know where the weakness on the line is, and that's certainly a red flag. With someone like Hassan Reddick and the stats. I am a kid, Mike. Well, I guess not. I'm 30, so not anymore. But yeah, no, I didn't. Had his jersey though. Wore it all the time.
He's not even old enough to say, I'm 40. I'm a man. You got to wait 10 years, man.
Yeah, well, it'll fly by. But yeah, I mean, and then for all that talk about Hassan Reddick, Philly has Josh Sweat on the other side, going against Orlando Brown, who at least he's given up 4 sacks this year. But between the Chiefs offensive line as a whole, definitely right tackle and left tackle are the 2 biggest weaknesses. And Josh Sweat, for Reddick having 16 sacks, he had 11 and has had 9 in the last 8 games. So certainly been on a tear. And then you also add in Brandon Graham, who had 11 sacks, Fletcher Cox, who's always been a pretty dominant force. Granted, not the same sheer that he's been in previous years, but I mean, still a presence. And then, on top and Javon Hargrave. And on top of that, they got Ndamukong Suh and Robert Quinn to just go in and sub out. So, offensive line's going to be in for a lot of work, but I mean, that is why they made the moves they did after the Tampa Bay loss. So, to be able to beat that, blueprint, so to speak, of going against Mahomes and a hobbled Mahomes at that. Although it does seem that, his ankle's doing good. I mean, obviously he's not going to sit there on the Super Bowl media day and say, I'm 60%, but I think it will help that he's going to have 2 weeks of time from when that was hurt to, I think he'll be be able to move around more and be at a better playing speed, so to speak, in terms of getting out of the pocket than he was against the Bengals. But he took 3 sacks in that Bengals game and was pressured quite a bit. To me, that's going to be the biggest thing. But that's kind of the biggest thing in any NFL game is who's going to win really any football game. I mean, who's going to win the trenches? But I think especially for this one, because Chiefs have always, they're set up to just outscore whoever they play. And that mindset is not going to really work if the other team is just as potent on offense and high scoring as you are, and you're not getting stops. Granted, the defense has really been playing well in terms of the postseason and making crucial stops. I mean, if it wasn't for the defense, they wouldn't even be in this game. But as a whole, how their roster's set up, I mean, it's like a track meet for KC. That's their mindset is, we'll just press and, we'll have at some point they're going to have to pass because we're going to be scoring. And, that I don't think is going to work as well if they're not, if they aren't containing the pressure. But it's going to be hard. I mean, I'm sure there'll be at least 1 sack. But yeah, that was the biggest thing to me is, how is that going to match up?
Not 1, not 2, not 3.
We'll see.
We'll see. And the homage to the bastard who won the NBA scoring record last night.
And why does he have to be a bastard?
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why people hate LeBron, but
I don't either. I don't get the hate either.
But it's So I mean, that was definitely my biggest thing in terms of the matchups is the Philly pass rush, you know, Philly also has, I think, the top rated secondary in the league. But then you go look at the QBs that they've played since week 9 or 8 or something, and you're like, well, that kind of makes sense because I think Dak Prescott was the biggest name in the bunch, and he led the league in interceptions this year. So, you know, it'll be interesting if they are able to contain the rush. I think that Philly's secondary success is kind of hand in hand with their pass rush success. I mean, that can be said for any team, but you know, if they're getting in the backfield, getting 70 sacks, then some QB is going to kind of crap his pants and throw the ball somewhere.
and that's see, and not to interrupt, but I apologize. But you can't bitch about the schedule when it is what it is. Okay, you got to play the people that are
bitching about the schedule.
Right. Well, no, I'm just saying it's like all these people are saying like you had a powder puff schedule, but okay, if that's the schedule you had and it was based upon your obviously your division plays the same people, and you play the same people that has the slot in your conference. You know, if you're second or first, whatever, you slot it against those. So, yeah, if it's a Mickey Mouse schedule, it's only because the NFL made it a Mickey Mouse schedule, but you went out and you dominated those teams. Now, granted, last week, 2 weeks ago, they played a depleted team in the Niners because old boy got hurt. It would have been a much better game had Purdy not gotten hurt. But you can't fault them for that.
Well, and you know why Purdy got hurt is because they were hitting him every time he threw.
Exactly.
So, you know, like, obviously their pass rush is good.
So it's like
pretty much won the game.
If you go and you hit Mahomes like that, because you have all of those linemen that you're talking about that are fantastic. I mean, you're talking about, I think you got at least 6 to 8 quality lines, and that's why they beat the Patriots a couple of years ago, because they kept throwing bodies after Brady. They kept throwing bodies at Brady.
That was kind of the
you wear them
formula
down.
then, right? They had like Chris Long, who was an aging vet. They signed all these aging vet pass rushers, and then just like, hey, go, you know. And like they didn't need to trade for Robert Quinn. Like, why did they do that? But you know, it sucks that they have someone, who had like 19 sacks last year, who's like their fill-in guy, you know, on top of the 2 other guys that are just going absolutely bonkers. Like I said, I think they had 2 guys with almost 10 sacks in the last 8 games, which is just ridiculous when you think about it, including the playoffs.
And those 2 guys are best friends.
Yeah,
they're best friends. Like it's absolutely stupid. And they feed off of each other, because I don't know if you saw their interview. But like the 2 guys the 2 guys literally go out in the field and they jar at each other and they amp each other up. And they're literally best friends even off the field. And so, I mean, that kind of camaraderie between 2 teammates having been together for 6 or 7 or 8 years together, because they've been on the Eagles, both of them, for quite an extended period of time. It really sets you apart, because you can just do things without having to even know where the other guy's going to be without having to think about it.
Yeah. This is a little bit of breaking news since we're on the topic of LeBron, but Lakers just got rid of Russ.
I already retweeted it.
The new coach would like that, but now we'll get back to this Super Bowl.
Already retweeted it. I'm already on it.
But in terms of the secondary matchup, I mean, the biggest thing is going to be who's available for KC. They were extremely banged up in the AFC Championship game. I mean, Hardman's back on the IR; he's not playing. You know, in the responding move to that, they brought Clyde Edwards-Helaire back, but kind of from watching his interviews, I think he's been healthy for a while, and they just kind of let him hang out. So I doubt, they're going to use him. But, I mean, you had Hardman, Tony, Juju, Justin Watson. All of those guys didn't play in the AFC Championship game outside of the first 2 drives. So, it's a little skewed versus the pressure that Cincy was able to get, just because he didn't have his guys out there, and it was at that point if you double Travis, then you make someone have to get open, which brings me to Scantling, who has kind of come into a role a little bit, kind of earned his contract money, so to speak, in the playoffs. In the last game alone, he had 110 yards, 111 yards, and a touchdown. So we'll see, see if he kind of picks up steam. But at least from looking at every report now, everyone outside of Hardman is playing. They've all practiced, but it's going to be, can they stay in there? I mean, Tony, I know Gabe's told me, Captain's told me he's made of paper mache, and you breathe on him, and I always makes the so it's he's gonna be a huge contributor, and you kind of need him to be healthy to win this game. I mean, he had a borderline touchdown right at the beginning of the AFC Championship game, and then got hurt. And you don't know how effective he could have been if he was healthy that whole time. And he's going to be a very key part to them being successful and winning this game. Is for him to be very involved and not miss any time. And same with Juju. Juju takes one hit and he's done. But that's kind of that you can't control those things, but you just got to hope that they can all make it through this game healthy. I mean, it's a Super Bowl, so I imagine unless someone absolutely tells them they can't play, no one's not going to. So that's going to be the biggest thing in terms of that. But in terms of Philly's pass defense as a whole, they're for how good they are in the secondary, and even against tight ends. Although I think pretty much any team Kelsey faces, he's gonna get at least 6 catches. He might not have a touchdown, he might have 100 yards, but he's gonna be moving the ball because that guy just is always open somehow.
Well, at least if he gets 4 touchdowns, it's going to be on more than 24 yards and receptions, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. That was.
Hey, I could give it out addition too. That was apropos. He's going to at least earn it if he gets it.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I imagine they're going to give him a lot of looks. I mean, that's going to be the biggest key. Is will TJ Edwards and Kaiser White, who have been pretty good in defending the pass, haven't really gone against Kelsey. I mean, he's kind of in the echelon of his own, at least in terms of production this year, where you look at what his stats were versus who was second with tight ends. He's playing his brother. He's obviously kind of the center of attention going into this media stuff. So I just picture Andy, giving him 15 to 17, maybe even 20 looks, and hope that he's able to put together a pretty special game, because you're going to need that too. But saying all that, they're not overly good at defending the pass when it comes to running backs, which I think is going to be probably the biggest factor in terms of their success on offense against a good defense. Dude, it's Carl Cheffers, man. He hates the Chiefs. He's the guy that cried when he had to tell him there was no flag. So
Raiders 07, that Raiders 07, that's not true. They've already had the dinner with the refs. And now the
it's
head
not a
referee,
dinner with the refs. We call him into a dark room, we club his kneecaps, and we say, "Don't mess it up."
Right.
Club his kneecaps.
But what's really happened here is the ref's sister or daughter has already placed the bet on the game. So you already
also,
know
by the way, that was totally fake news. Just to let you guys know, both of y'all, Cap, Richie, trying to come in here like it's a reliable source, and it was like,
hey, you want us to go and talk to him for you? You know what we're talking about?
Yeah.
We got Anthony, we got Timmy Two Thumbs out there, we got Vito. Hell, even his sister Angela's out there gonna tell him some things. You know what I'm talking about, right? Hey, it fell off the effing truck. What can I say?
But yeah.
Well, in fairness, not only was that on Twitter, but that was also on Pro Football Talk on NBC. So it did actually make it into mainstream media with that head ref and whatnot as well. And the news reports were that it was his son that placed the bet on the game on his behalf as opposed to the ref himself. So in fairness, that was the news that came out.
Yeah.
But on that front, I had a question about what you just said there about Kelsey. And the question is, do you think that there may be some first looks to Kelsey that Mahomes might attempt to make? We've seen this a little bit more from him this year, where he forces the ball in certain spots and has been somewhat careless in some games. Now, they've obviously had a successful enough season where they've been able to overcome it. But you're playing a different team right now, and if Mahomes makes those same mistakes, they're not going to come out on top with the pass rush like this.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'd necessarily agree that he's been more careless with the ball this year in terms of others. And honestly, I think them getting rid of Hill, I mean, he's had a lot more completions to a lot, a larger number of receivers. So, I mean, they are spreading the ball out a lot more. I mean, I think in these recent games, obviously they've been a little hampered with injuries in terms of all the guys they've signed and anticipated to be in every game. But at least looking now, it seems like everyone's going to be healthy. So I don't know if they'll come out and see any forced looks to Kelsey right out of the gate or anything like that. But certainly as the game goes on and an unfortunate thing happens, like Juju falls out and Tony falls out, then they're going to have to figure something out. But that I think, and that was kind of where I was going with the running backs in terms of the pass rush. Because, like I said, for as good as Philly's been with everything else, they're, I think, 19th or 20th in terms of defending the pass with running backs. And maybe not as much in the last game, but, going into the later half of the season, that was a pretty big part of KC's offense, at least with Jarrett, the Jet McKinnon. So, I think that's going to be a big thing to watch out, especially if Philly is, as advertising, getting a lot of pressure early and often. I see him doing a lot of quick screens and stuff to kind of try to negate some of that, or just, off script check down to McKinnon because he's gotten like 9 touchdowns on the year off of doing stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of develops in terms of how the offensive line's playing. But I guess to answer your question, like I don't think that you'll see a lot of force stuff to Kelsey right out of the gate. Because I kind of think they're going to try to kind of do what they did against San Francisco when they have, Nick Bosa, and usually what KC does, and it's going to be a little harder. That's why I'm kind of hesitant to say this because I don't know if it will because they have 5 good pass rushers, not just 1 or 2, but usually KC, like the best pass rusher, they don't block them and they like run jet sweeps off of them, kind of play mind games with them and make them have to make a decision. And sort of, it's kind of like an RPO concept off of it but you're not really reading the end. You're just making him kind of not know what the hell is going on. So that in that moment, when you need a little added second, they might be a little hesitant. So I kind of see him doing stuff like that, especially if Tony's full speed, having him kind of orbit around and do jet sweeps or fake a sweep off him and leave Reddick off the edge and make him decide if he's going to just full commit and probably have, McKinnon or Pacheco check down right off of that and kind of do stuff like that. And, it's quick screen games and just get the ball out fast to negate that and hope that on the other side of the ball, Chris Jones is being as an equal force, going against Philly. And I think
he's really stepped up in the playoffs as well the last couple of games. So,
for a guy that didn't have any sacks going into this, any postseason sacks in his career for playing in 15 playoff games, he certainly picked a good time to get some against the Bengals. And but it is for as smug and arrogant as I am, I will admit it's an apples to oranges comparison, comparing the Chiefs pass rush to what the Eagles have. But saying that, Chris Jones is the best interior pass rusher in the NFL. He was, I think, 3rd in the league in sacks, and like I said it last week, he was the most doubled guy in the league this year, and had the highest win rate. So that's going to be a big thing. But that he's going to get back there. Regardless of how they try to block him, they move him around too much for him to not get in the backfield. But the biggest thing in terms of KC's defense and getting after Hurts is going to be a lot of Frank Clark because that he's the other guy. That's why they traded for him. That's why they signed him to an extension. And for as mediocre as he can be in the regular season, playoff shark comes out, smells blood in the water, and he's back there. And Karlaftis, the rookie's been coming around. So I mean, Clark and Karlaftis to me are the biggest keys for Chiefs on defense in terms of being able to stop Hurts and the Eagles offense with what they do, which is RPO and run the shiz out of the ball with 4 different people. So, it'll be, it's a battle of the number ones. I mean, both of them are number ones in different ways. So I think this really is I don't think it's a overly one-sided matchup as much as people think it is. I mean, I do acknowledge that Philly has an excellent defense, an excellent pass rush. But I don't think they faced the caliber of offense, at least recently, like what KC has. So I think when you kind of put those two things together, plus you have an offensive guru in Reed, anything can happen. It was Super Bowl Sunday, so it's gonna be a great game. But I think that the Chiefs will win.
Yeah, I truly think that the biggest test here is going to be if the Chiefs' offensive line can hold the line, or at the very least slow down the pass rush from disrupting throwing lanes and the play that's being called or that's being kind of planned for. If you guys can hold that up, I think you guys have a good shot at winning. Just to date this year, I just don't think that there's been a team that's been able to hold back the Eagles' D-line, and they played like good, legit playoff teams. I mean, there was a reasonable contingent of an NFL fan base that truly expected the Niners to win that game.
Well, they might have if
Purdy didn't get hurt. Yeah,
I mean the Niners are equally stacked.
There's a good percentage that people expected the Niners to come out on top.
Yeah.
So they've proven themselves against good teams.
Yeah. No, I wholeheartedly agree with that, and I do think another component, and I kind of alluded to it with talking about the ankle, but I think if Mahomes comes into it, just 20% healthier than he was and is able to move around a little bit more, that'll help. Yeah, thanks, Mike. Hey, I at least made it to this point without you calling me a smug bastard or anything like that. So,
it's coming. Show's not over yet. It's coming.
It's coming.
Show's not over yet. Yeah, I'd agree with that take about the pass rush. I think it really comes down to the quarterbacks in the bottom line. I think quarterbacks and coaching, because you got to add the aspect of it. Nick Sirianni's never been here before. Andy Reid Reid's very comfortable in this situation. But Andy Reid has a quarterback that he's not sure how mobile he's going to be, and how improvisational he's going to be. So if he's a stand-still quarterback and that pass rush can get to him, that's going to be a rough day. It's going to be the reverse of the Super Bowl they were in last time, whereas though he has mobility, but he didn't have any blocking. He has blocking, but no mobility. So, it's one of those things where you could honestly truly put Mahomes under a lot of pressure if you can get to him early and often. But yet again, does Sirianni have, some tricks up his sleeve and not let the moment be too big for him and coach, his arse off for lack of a better term, because he's going to have to. I mean, because Andy's not going to give it to you. You got to take it. So, you got a great defense and all that stuff, but is Jalen Hurts 100%? Is he going to be able to sling the rock? That's another thing, I was
going to talk about, there's I can't remember his name, but it's like a Chiefs account I follow, and he was kind of talking about that earlier this week that, for as much attention as Mahomes' ankle's getting and all the questions he answers, people aren't talking about Hurts and shoulders.
That's an issue. I feel like that's still an issue.
And he hasn't been the same deep ball threat. I mean, in terms of accuracy, and I mean, at the beginning of the year before he got hurt, he was a runaway MVP and was lighting everybody up. Yep. And I think since then he pulled up the stats. I wrote it down somewhere. I need to find it. He's 4 of 13 on deep shots since he's come back from that injury.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And and they've kind of changed their approach and run the ball a lot more. And Miles Sanders picked up as the season went on, and Hurts still, I think, had the most rushing TDs any QB's had in a season. So for as much as the shoulder could be impacting him, his legs still work, and that's
right.
apparent.
That's pretty dynamic.
And that's kind of where I'm getting with Chris Jones and the pass rush with the Chiefs defense. Because to me, I think if they want the best shot to win the game is to make Hurts beat you throwing the ball. And I'm talking about having to, and that's where they'd have to get out fast and get some points on the board and make them have to score quickly and go for deeper shots. Because that's not really their game. They run the crap out of it, do RPOs, and just throw off of wherever the linebacker's not, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like what every Big 12 team does now. And it's effective. Right. But if you can stop it or contain it a little bit and make them have to go deeper, I would put it on Hurts to make, have to beat you with the shoulder concern and I guess how he's looked coming back from that, but at the same time, they do have pretty solid weapons in the receiving core with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. Both are 1A, 1B receivers, in my opinion. Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see how those guys match up with the young secondary of KC. But for as young and low as they've been drafted, those guys have been balling. They held a very respectable, if not the best passing attack in Cincy to a pretty good containment for the guys they have, on their team. So that'll be interesting as well. But it all comes back to, whoever's got the most dominant pass rush is winning this game. And I hope that's KC. But at least on paper, the odds don't look good in their favor with the plethora of guys that Philly has. But they've been stacked against worse. So.
I think the overarching thing is that the underlying thing about it, because they're not going to tell you exactly how hurt or how healthy everybody is at this point, but who's the more healthy team might be the one that wins this game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Really, because if you like you saw it with San Fran, right? Like their QB went down super early, and for all the weapons they had, they couldn't do anything else.
Do nothing with it. No.
Granted, I didn't agree with how they were trying to contain the pass rush by having like Kittle chip block a dude and like not do anything. And I imagine Reed, if that's the situation, would do things differently. But at the same time, you could be as loaded as you want, and they still are very effective, and stopping stuff. And I can only imagine how bad it would be if a similar situation happens as the AFC Championship game, where you have Juju go down early, and Tony almost catch a touchdown, and then get a first down, and hurt his ankle, trying to break someone else's ankles. That is not going to bode well for him. So I do agree with your point, Coach, but it's going to be kind of a two-toned. Who's getting the most rush and who's the healthiest once we get to the fourth quarter.
That's it. And like I said, on paper, the Eagles definitely have a better pass rush. So I would definitely say that the O-line for Eagles is stellar, and the pass rush for them is stellar as well. And they pound for pound have the better up front on each side of the ball. So if they can impose their will on both sides, running the ball with the O-line and getting after the quarterback, then it should lean to their favor. But yet again, I don't put nothing past Andy and Patrick if Patrick is healthy.
And that's the thing with it too, though. KC was the number 2 pass rush ranked in the NFL. They had 55 sacks, but that was second in the league too.
Right. Well, it was a long second, but yeah, I agree.
So that's what to me makes it such a. I think it's a coin flip matchup, really, because you have.
That's why the line had moved. It's a 1.5 spread.
Offense, the number 3 offense, the number 1 defense. The number 2 defense, or at least in terms of pass rush. I think the Chiefs are better at stopping the run than the Eagles are.
Think so?
Yeah, let's see. Chiefs, they're 19th against RPO. I looked that up. But Philly wasn't very good at the run either. That's why it's got to be a big Pacheco game, but I didn't want to go on this tangent talking about them run the ball because they're not going to do it. They're not going to give him 20 carries, but he will, I think, have to have a big time run like he did in the championship game. But I'm trying to find where I wrote the Phillies rank on running. Oh, yeah, they're both I think they're Chiefs 19th, at least 20th.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, one better than them.
Right.
We got
right,
them somewhere. But,
Right. Right.
but like I said, it's literally kind of the identical teams going against each other. So it'll be, it should be, which is what the matchup you want. Yeah, that's at least.
I mean, yeah,
No,
I definitely think it's
agree.
going to be entertaining Super Bowl. Definitely going to be entertaining one way or the other. Definitely that.
Before
I mean,
Captain
all I
has to
know
go, Captain, I want your score prediction.
I predict pain.
Nice Clubber Lang reference. I love it. I love it.
My prediction:
Pain.
Yeah, and I'm gonna gracefully not, because every time.
Oh, here we go. The jinx is out.
Yeah, every time I can't stand picking against that team. I'm watching my tongue. I know who I want to win.
Just say it. Just say the
I
Eagles.
know who should win.
Do it.
But I don't know if they are going to win.
Do it.
So in deference
Do
to
it.
the Smug family,
In deference to the
who
Smug family.
I tip my hat to, Smug Daddy Mac and Mama Smug and Cousin Smug and
Don't
Auntie
forget
Smug.
Auntie Smug.
I said Annie Smug. I said
King
Annie
Smug.
Smug and Brother Smug. In deference to the Smug family and
Pepe
all the
Smug.
people here, after this wonderful show, please tune in to NFL Nation Live, where we will talk about the Super Bowl again with a referee that was a ref in the NFL, a Hall of Famer in Violator, and some old pirate that just kind of ornery and cute for an old bastard.
Who's that?
Honorary and cute.
Come on over. We won't even talk about the garglers not being there. You had to do it. Had to do it, Coach. Good
Yeah, the Raiders aren't there either.
Whatever. And the Donkeys are not there. And, of course, my Raiders are not there. But the ketchup and mustard barbecue crew is. So, again, in deference to the Smug family, thank you for being here. It's always a good time on the Wild, Wild West. See ya!
Whoa.
Oh, and come over to the show. Put it back up again there, Richie, if you can get the damn.
You gotta do the R again.
Can't even exit right. Come on, buddy.
Okay, wait a second. I have to do it right. Okay, here it is. Okay, here it is. Yeah, get over to the friggin' show. That's better. Now I'm out of here.
2 times the charm.
I just wanted them to
So, I thought that was really. I think it's gonna be a great Super Bowl. I think for the first time in a while, you may end up with a Super Bowl that really starts to go down to like the last play, depending on how the teams play and depending on where injuries shake out, which would be lovely to finally have. A non-blowout style game, which this is shaping up to potentially be.
D said it would be their third Super Bowl. Just Pat's second if they won. Just so you know.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, the first one was 1969, but
none of us were alive then, man. Come on.
Hey, I'm just saying.
Can't count championships you weren't alive for. That's the rule.
But I actually think that this could be interesting. So.
Yeah. One little tidbit I was going to share because it was relevant to you, Richie, and Cap, but I didn't do it until he left. But, like I said, Mahomes is what led the league in passing and going against the number one passing defense. The interesting, albeit unfortunate fact I found is that has only happened twice in previous Super Bowls, and both did not pan out for the number one passing guy. The first one was Rich Gannon against the Bucks. I think we know what happened there.
Oh, yeah.
And then the last one was Peyton Manning against the Seahawks. And we also know what happened with that one. So, knock on wood, it's a little different with Mahomes, but at least historically has not a good matchup in terms of number one passing attack versus number one defense.
No, and the Broncos also had that in 2015 when we went against Cam Newton, and well, ask Cam Newton how that game went. I don't think he was ever the same after that game, actually, to be quite honest.
No,
I think
possible.
I think he was.
I
think he was like forever shell shocked. Yeah, he was forever shell shocked.
Well, and he's just kind of the same, which is the issue off topic, but like why the Ravens don't want to sign Lamar. Cam Newton did very similar play style, and he just fell off a cliff. Made it to a Super Bowl, won MVP, but then just was not the same after that, and it came to a hard and fast stop pretty quickly.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I think
so
Lamar's a little more refined of a passer than Cam was, but yeah, I see what your point is.
Stigma of like,
it is.
They're kind of a one-man offense, and I'm not going to pay you $260 million to not play. I think Lamar's going to get traded, but we'll see.
So. I think it all depends on who they hire. If they hire a good OC, then they might.
Apparently, might be Bieniemy. So
yeah, if it is, then we're back in the business. And I think you sign Lamar, hire Bieniemy, and let's go to work.
Yeah. So, Coach, I'm going to throw over to you. What are your score predictions for this game, given what we've all been talking about and all that kind of stuff?
It's a tough one, man. Like I said, the line is 1.5 and hadn't moved since it got set when the Super Bowl was announced. It really just is it's going to be a war of attrition up front on both sides. It really is. It's hard to say. It really is. The only thing that gives me pause, again, Andy's experience and his play calling, giving him 2 weeks to prepare, for a team versus a normal week is definitely, and historically has boded well for Andy. I would say, like I said, Nick Sirianni's inexperience being in a big game is a question mark for me. So if I had to pick a winner, I would say Chiefs by 3. 27-24.
Yeah, I have 27. I have 27-23 Eagles.
There we go. That's all I needed. I just needed Richie to say Eagles.
And
we're good.
And the reason I have that. No, but the reason I have that, I have 2 reasons for it. One, I think that the Chiefs' offensive line is going to have some struggles with the pass rush of the Eagles. I just think that D line is just too damn good. And the other thing that the other reason why I'm kind of touting the Eagles line a little bit is because it's not just a bunch of rookies on the Eagles line that have just kind of dominated a few other. They have a bunch of veteran guys on that line, so they know what they're doing.
Anywhere.
No, they don't. No. But I'm just saying is that they have guys that know what they're doing, right? And so typically when you have guys that are playing, but when you're playing at a level like that and you're playing veteran guys that have been there before or know what they're doing, I truly think that separates them when they get into playoff situations because they know better. And then the other thing is typically in a Super Bowl, because you're playing later in the season and you have a lot of attrition in the body and that kind of stuff, a lot of the times the better defense often does win just because of that fact. The Eagles.
Well, the Eagles. Look at how many teams have won a Super Bowl by having a mediocre offense. And the Ravens, right? I just watched that 30 for 30. Yeah. You're like, damn, I didn't realize they were that bad at offense.
They were terrible offensively, but it was
so touchdown in a month.
They was so legendary defensively, it didn't matter.
Which is wild.
Yeah, they really told the offense, like, look, you scored 10 points, we win every game. That's what Ray said. I heard that out of Ray's mouth.
No, he said, Super Bowl, they didn't even give him a touchdown. It was
exactly.
Just blew the Giants out.
They literally told them 10 points and we win.
When they showed the clip of the AFC Championship game against the Raiders, I was looking in the clips for Capt in the black hole. Too. I figured he'd be front and center, the Pirate.
Right.
And Jacob, I don't think the Chiefs are going to struggle. I think that the Eagles D line is going to put up stats that will put them back in a position to get the ball back faster. Which it's the old adage of how are you going to beat the Chiefs? You keep Mahomes off the field, so you can do that one of 2 ways. One, you have a pass rush that kind of dominates and kind of get to Mahomes, throw him off the spot, and you go from there, or you go and play the. Yeah, that's what Tampa did, and that's what I think that the Eagles are potentially going to have. At least they have the personnel to potentially do that. Or the other option is you try to go Tennessee Titans route, and that is you just have a running back that can just chew up clock and keep Patrick Mahomes on the bench.
They also have the roster for
which they have a little bit of that as well. So that's my point is I just think that the Eagles have certain ingredients on their team that certainly, if they are played in the right way or put into play the right way, that they can really do some dangerous things. That's my point. And so, no, I don't think the Chiefs are going to struggle per se. I just think that the Eagles are well positioned to have some answers to what other teams have not been able to answer to with the Chiefs. And that's just pure straight football, kind of 101, looking at the matchups on the field. But do I think the Chiefs are going to completely bomb? No, I think that it's going to be, like I said, like a 3 or 4 point game. And you're not talking a blowout by anything. And it very well may even come down to that last minute field goal that you sometimes see these games being won by. And because I truly believe that you're going to be in that type of a position in this game.
Yeah.
But guys,
it's going to come down to the last possession. I mean, if it goes according to plan.
And Alex, I don't think I heard your score prediction. If you want to just repeat that, since you are,
I didn't get one.
I know.
Yeah, I don't. I think it's going to be like a 24-20, something like that. Like how because every game that they've played against the elite teams, right? Like the Bills, the Bengals, they've always been like that. So I don't see any difference for it not to come down to the last possession and whoever gets the field goal or whoever scores last. It's going to just come down to a field goal. And so I'm thinking like 27, 24 range for the winning team with like 20-23. I mean, they're going to put points on. It might even be higher than that. But I think with how these teams play, or at least how the Chiefs play other elite teams and kind of how the Eagles do too, I think they're going to both be schemed so much that it's going to negate some of the scoring that you would traditionally see their offensives, put on the board. So, but Chiefs dub, absolutely. Mahomes solidifying his status as that dude. You heard it here.
Yeah, no, I think that this would certainly be a defining moment for Patrick Mahomes if you were to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, he could literally walk away with 2 MVPs in the Super Bowl this weekend. That's a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a lot.
And I think that would
5 years.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly it.
Right.
And I think that would immediately put him in the same discussions of kind of like the Peyton Mannings. Like he's already in those discussions, but I think that basically solidifies him in that position of saying,
I mean, who has had a better start to their career?
Yeah,
ever.
Exactly.
Ever.
Yeah.
If he walks away with, he will have 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, and 2 regular season MVPs in 5 years.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever done that.
He's already got it's funny too. People like compare his stats to like Troy Aikman's. He's already just because I don't know why, but like it's always like comparisons. He's already like blowing Troy Aikman out of the water in terms of touchdowns thrown and passing yards. Just doesn't have the 3 Super Bowls, but yeah,
he doesn't have the longevity yet, right? So the problem is that he doesn't have like the passing touchdown stats per se of the career stuff, but at this clip, he's going to catch up because he's throwing so many touchdowns every year that he's going to get there. And passing yards, he's putting up massive numbers too on an annual basis. So, So I think that
5,040 touchdowns is like an average year for him. It's like
which is insane because that's a really good year for most people,
right? Yeah.
Like anybody in the NFL would say, if your quarterback's going to do this on average, you would take that all day.
I mean, his first year as a starter, they went to Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl. He threw 50 touchdowns and like 5,100 yards, which is like
insanity.
Like stupid. Granted, like there's an added game to it, so I think it's easy for a lot of QBs.
I mean, you give him at least another 300 to 400 yards on average.
I mean, Brady. Everyone talks about Brady was clearly like worse, right? Still threw 5. I mean, he was second in the league, or second or third.
He still broke records this year, despite being bad. Yeah.
I also purchased the sand he sat on. So if you guys want that, I'm reselling.
You re-gifting,
On
reselling?
eBay, $200K. Can confirm.
Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Yeah. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for the show today. We really appreciate all of you for joining us, especially right to the end here. If you have any questions or topics that you'd like for us to discuss kind of next week and on, please go ahead and reach out to us on Twitter. We will try to incorporate them into the show. Always like feedback from the fans here. And obviously, this is going to be a huge weekend upcoming. We'll have lots of stuff to do, lots of stuff to talk about on the next show and going forward. And until next week, where the West Side is the best side, peace.